Good evening. Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Public Schools of Robertson County Board of Education meeting to order at this time. This is John Campbell speaking. I'd like to call on Mr. Dwayne Smith for our invocation at this time. Mr. Smith, your microphone is muted. You're still muted, Mr. Smith.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you go.
Now we can hear you, sir.
Okay. All right, let's try this again. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
All right, let us go to the Lord in prayer. Lord, we come before you tonight. Lord, we thank you, Lord, for being our Lord and Savior and for being our soon-coming King. Lord, we just thank you for paying the ultimate sacrifice for our sins. And Lord, we just come before you tonight, Lord, at this meeting, Lord, that you would just bless us, give us wisdom and knowledge to make the decisions that are best for our kids and for our county and for our schools. And Lord, we just ask that you would just be in our presence tonight. And Lord, just be with all of us and our country, our world, as things are happening. And we know you're our soon coming King. And Lord, we just ask, Lord, that you would just bless this meeting tonight to the uplifting of your glory. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dwayne. We appreciate that. Thank you. At this time, I would ask that we have a motion to set aside policy to hold our meeting virtually.
Dr. Campbell, before you do that, would you go ahead and do a roll call, please?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Thank you, sir. Superintendent Wooten, could you do that for us?
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Brian Freeman,
Present.
Craig Lowry,
Present.
Dwayne Smith,
Present.
John Campbell,
Present.
Linda Emanuel,
Present.
Steve Martin,
Present. Will you see if
Randy Austin,
Present.
Charles Boyd.
They're the ones that are not accepting you. You're in. They just
Well, I'm on here.
said, look to them get by you. They didn't do correct.
Okay, and in terms of the cabinet, do we need to do the cabinet? Grady?
You don't need to do the cabinet.
And Mr. Mike Smith?
Present.
Yeah, come on in. Come through the back door.
Let's see. Ms. Selby is there as well.
Yes, I'm present.
There she is. 1, 2.
Looks like everybody's in attendance but Charles, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, Chairman, you can go forward with your motion.
All right. I'd entertain a motion to set aside policy at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Who made the motion?
Steve Martin.
And it was seconded by.
Brenda Shirley Therapy.
Okay. Just for the record, as we proceed, announce who you are, and then second, or I mean, make the motion and then also to second it. It's
Okay.
been moved and seconded Mr. Attorney, you were saying that we need to voice vote each one. Do we need to do it by name?
Yes, so we're setting aside policy to hold this meeting virtually. And so now
We
do a
need
voice.
majority to set aside the the super majority, right?
Yes, need eight votes. And do it by voice vote with a roll call.
So,
Dr. Wooten?
so Ms. Brenda Farabee,
Yes.
Mr. Brian
Brenda
Freeman,
Fairley Fairby.
Yes.
Mr. Craig Lowry,
Yes.
Mr. Dwayne Smith,
Yes.
Mr. John Campbell,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mr. Mike Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Randy Lawson.
Yes.
Those voting nay? There being none, the motion to set aside policy is approved. Is there a motion to go ahead and does that sound like, Mr. Attorney, or do we still need to?
You
vote
need
to
a
do it?
motion to hold it virtually. You've set the policy aside, now the motion is to hold the meeting virtually.
Okay. Fellow board members, you heard that. Now the motion,
Brenda Fairley Fairby, so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Dwayne Smith, second.
is that a chair? Someone mute your phone or something? There we go. Let's do it by roll call rather than each person coming and saying who. Dr. Wu, would you please?
Yes, and someone just entered the room. So, okay, so Brenda Farabee,
Yes.
Mr. Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Craig Lowry,
Yes.
Mr. Dwayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mr. Mike Smith.
I think Mike left.
Muted.
No, he's muted. There he is. Okay.
Steve Martin,
Yes. Yes.
Mike Smith, yes. Mr. Randy Lawson,
Yes.
Okay, the motion is carried. Those opposed, if any, the motion is carried. Thank you so much. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chair, Steve Martin, motion to adopt the agenda.
Dwayne Smith, second.
It's moved and seconded. Those in favor of Dr. Wooten?
okay. So we have Miss Brenda Farabee,
Yes.
Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Craig Lowry,
Yes.
Dwayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson.
Yes.
Those opposed? There being none, the agenda is adopted. Let me just say to those that are viewing, please bear with us. We're in unfamiliar territory. It's doing a new thing. And in response to the circumstances with coronavirus, and the law requires that we take these voice votes and do what we're doing here. It's It's a lot different than how we normally do it, but it has to be done. So bear with us. And thank you for sharing in this virtual meeting of the board of your Board of Education.
Mhm.
At this time, we need open session minutes approved.
And Mr. Charles Buller just joined us.
Welcome, Mr. Bullock.
Brenda Fairley Fairby, move approval.
Randy Lawson, second.
Moved and seconded. Superintendent, would you continue to do the honors, please?
Ms. Fairby,
Yes.
Adam Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Buller,
Yes.
Craig Brown,
Yes.
Wayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Ness, Dr. Mann, Ms. Mike Smith,
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Mike Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Randy Lawson,
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any nays? The minutes are approved as presented. As we move to information items, we want to take this opportunity. Normally, we have some physical gathering in order to show our teachers and staff appreciation, but again, coronavirus has caused us to have to look for other ways to appreciate, whether it's on social media platforms, even tonight with using this platform. Want to just say thank you to all of our educators, to all of our teachers. Teacher Appreciation Week was last week, and we hope that things were said and gestures were made that let you know how valuable you are. As a matter of fact, that there are more folk that appreciate what you were doing and are doing now than ever before, since many are having to do it now, try to do some of it to help their children and grandchildren. So I think it's a win-win for all of us to know, to be reminded of what a wonderful job, what an important job, how you contribute to the education of our children. And I would, at this time, if there are other board members who would like words of appreciation to share with our teachers and staff for all that's been being done and had been done and still continues to be done in the midst of this pandemic. I mean, all that's being done behind the scenes that we don't even see, but it's being done. We thank all of you. Are there any other board members that would like to take this opportunity to publicly say what you've been saying privately about our employees of the public schools of Robertson County?
I'm very thankful for those.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm very thankful for those who turned their lights on and left them on all day in honor of Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. So continue to keep on doing the good work you're doing.
Mr. Campbell, this is Linda Emanuel. I just want to thank everyone who did all the different things to appreciate and to recognize these children. And I want to go back to the seniors. There was an effort done by some of our teachers to recognize seniors and get them gifts and to adopt seniors, and not just seniors, other children. So we really appreciate all of the different things that all of our teachers in the community that they all have done for our children. Thank you.
Mr. Campbell, this is Craig Lowry.
kind of reiterating what's already been said, but I would like to add to all the staff of the public schools of Robeson County, like to extend my most sincere appreciation for what everyone has done since March 17th. You've gone above and beyond the call of duty. And to everyone that reached out to a student in the school system, we just want to thank you. And I also want to thank all the school employees who have reached out just to each other, to talk to each other and just to thank them for what they're doing. It's uncharted waters for all of us, but we will get past this and we will continue to move forward. And lastly, congratulations to all our seniors. You went through something probably no one else has ever went through, and we all know that. And we just appreciate you, and hopefully we can honor you in the ways that will be coming forth in the next few weeks. But again, congratulations to all seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Isaac. I mean, none of us have ever seen times like these, but tough times don't last, but tough people do. And we're a tough group of folk here in the public schools of Robeson County. Thank you so much. At this time, we would call on Miss Melissa Thompson and Miss Erica Setzer to talk to us about the staffing plan, to update us on the staffing plan.
This is Melissa Thompson. Good evening, Superintendent Wooten, Chairman Campbell, and all members of the board. As the 1920 school year comes to an end, we begin planning for the 2020-21 school year. We have carefully monitored our PSRC staff throughout the school year, and we've approached employee overages through attrition. We have made much progress, yet we still have more to go. Through discussion with the superintendent and her cabinet, including our finance officer, our plan at this time is to continue working through attrition and not recommend reduction in force for the 2020-21 school year. At this time, we currently have 28 certified vacancies. We have about 30 positions that will become vacant as of July 1st due to retirement, relocation, etc. We have 12 new recommendations made for the new school year and approximately 7 additional candidates who are interested in joining our district as well. Principals are in the interviewing process using Zoom, WebEx, and Google Hangout. We still have hard to fill areas such as exceptional children's area, middle grades and high school math, elementary ed, and within the elementary ed K-6 area, it is mainly the upper grades above third, between third and sixth grade. Middle grades English, ESL, which is funded by Title I, and school psychologist. We've also discussed an incentive for gaining math teachers. Nothing has been developed at this time, but there is a plan on the way as far as asking maybe teachers to add math to their license, anyone that may be interested. So we're working on an incentive for them. And at this time, I will yield to Miss Erica to give you more updates on our staffing plan.
Good evening, Chairman Campbell,
Good evening.
Superintendent Dr. Wooten, and board members. As we continue to update each month, we have a meeting. You can see on the screen there, we're comparing our months from 1 year ago till 2020. So the first screen shows the March 2019 compared to March 2020. And as you'll see there, the savings trends are continuing each month. For the month of March, there was a savings of a little over $740,000. And as we've been going through each month, we show these and progressing each month. We continue to see on average anywhere between $650,000, $750,000 savings. As we move forward to April, April is slightly higher because, as everyone is aware, when the governor closed schools, we had a period left of about a little over 2 weeks in that month where we no longer required substitute teachers because of the school closure. So that is one of the biggest differences between April of 2019 and April of 2020. You can see we saved over $300,000 in substitute teachers alone for that particular month. And that should continue. We do have a few sub sheets that were turned in late, but basically for this month, you shouldn't see any additional sub costs. And as we move forward, I just have the summaries included that shows the positions, all of the dollars together, and then one at the end that actually shows the difference. And so far through April, we're up to $5.7 million. And as we continue to say, this is not a savings that now becomes part of local or anything. These savings we're now using for other areas where we know gaps exist in our state budget, which would be 003 that pays for custodians, office staff, and substitute teachers, transportation, and exceptional children programs. So that's where these savings will be transferred in order to cover those areas we know where a gap exists. And at this time, that's all I have for the staffing update.
Randy Lawson, Miss Erica, on this again, because there's people on YouTube watching this. A minus equals a plus, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It just, I did it as a minus to show
Right.
that it's less than it was last year. Yes, sir.
Right.
That's correct.
Miss Erica, Linda Emanuel, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned, probably going to discuss this when you do your financial report. So if you want me to wait, I will. But you mentioned moving something to transportation. Did I misunderstand you saying that for funds that you might need to move to transportation?
Yes, ma'am. So the fact that we're saving in those personnel areas in all of these months, we still are overspent in certain program areas that we have been for several years, and transportation is one of those areas.
But not for this.
Ma'am? I'm sorry, I think she's muted. Yes, transportation is still overspent for this year. Transportation historically, in all the 20 years that I have been with PSRC, has been an overspent program area. Now, it won't be as much overspent because we should see some savings these last few months with the fuel costs and the drivers because of the school closures. But yes, we never receive enough funds to cover transportation. That has historically been the case, as well as exceptional children areas and PRC 003, which is where we pay substitute teachers, custodians, and office staff.
Thank you.
Miss Erica, traditionally, how did we cover all those gaps without these kinds of savings?
Well, as you know, for last school year, we did not. We actually had to use local fund balance to cover those. And in previous years, prior to that, there were always additional extra funds in certain state program areas that we were able to transfer. It's kind of been a perfect storm of substantial teacher pay raises and substantial retirement and hospital insurance costs that have just exacerbated the budget and the cost that it takes for personnel, which is why these savings are so substantial now and they weren't in previous years. You know, we went for a long stretch of years where no one received a pay raise. And then in the last, say, 5 years, those raises have just exploded for certain populations in our district.
So had we not had these savings this year, it's awful to think about where we would be right now.
I couldn't tell you where we would be, Mr. Campbell, because we no longer have the funding available in our local fund balance to cover this. So the school closures were really the reason why we have these savings to cover those areas.
Well, I want to commend all who have contributed and are contributing to, starting with the superintendent and cabinet and everyone, and folk who have made sacrifices in the trenches to help us to get to where we are, and that's some solvency. So thank you guys. And any other comments from any other board members before we move on? Well, Miss Melissa, sacrifices to help us get to where we are, and that's some solvency. So thank you guys. And thank you.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Chairman, make sure everybody mutes their phone when they're not speaking because there's considerable background noise.
Board members, please mute your phone until you get ready to share. At this time, I'd like to call on Ms. Thompson again and Mr. Bobby to update us, the calendar update of 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. This is Melissa Thompson. So as a result of the COVID-19, we now have some changes that will need to be implemented into our calendar. Session Law 2020-3, Senate Bill 704, did become law May 4th, 2020. At this time, I will yield to Mr. Bobby Locklear to discuss the relevant parts of the legislation.
Good evening, Chairman Campbell, Dr. Wooten, board members. As Ms. Thompson has already stated, Senate Bill 704 made a few changes to our calendar law for the 2021 school year. We had already adopted and passed a calendar that had fulfilled part of the requirement. One of the mandates in the calendar law says we must have a school calendar that has 185 days or 1,025 hours. We had met that with our previous calendar, but they added the stipulation that we must have 5 remote learning days. The law also says, and an additional 5 instructional days that can only be satisfied by individually separate and distinct full instruction days, not by hours. So that particular bullet within the law says you meet your hours, add 5 remote instructional days and 5 standalone days. The next bullet within the law says that each LEA must adopt a calendar with an opening date of August 17th for students. So as we look at our calendar and the one that we adopted, we had stated that we were going to begin on August 24th. So with the new law stating that we begin on August 17th, that really eliminates 2 portions of the law, because when we start on August 17th, that gives us our 5 additional instructional days. Therefore, the only thing left that we needed to do was designate remote learning days. Now, these remote learning days must align to the remote learning plan that I believe is further down on the agenda with Dr. Locklear's office. So those remote learning days are October 19th, November 25th, February 15th, March 15th, and April the 2nd. And the other change that we made, we had 2 teacher work days on June 7th and 8th. And so what we did with those 2 teacher work days, in order for teachers to have a solid week prior to students coming back, we moved those to August 10th and 11th. Now, a lot of the things that I'm hearing is, so teachers are working longer. By adding the 5 remote learning days and 5 additional student days, teachers are not working any longer than the 215 days. All we simply did was converted some student days we converted teacher work days to student days to fulfill all of those requirements. And I'm not sure if you have early college as well, but I've worked with early college and we've done the same thing in order to meet the law with them. The only exception to the law with the early college is they are not responsible for starting on August 17th because, of course, they align with the community college, and so they're going to start a lot sooner than that. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Bobby, this is Linda Emanuel. Is it your assumption that these remote learning days may be used for snow days or bad weather days? Makeup days?
And Dr. Emmanuel, and that's something that I don't know. I've spoken with Eric, and this time there has not been any guidance provided from DPI concerning the remote learning days, other than the statement within the law that says it must align to our remote learning plan. So when the calendar committee met and designated these days, there was conversation around what happens, say for instance, on November 25th, that is a weather day. If we have to take that away and make that a regular student day, what do we do with that remote learning day that's scheduled there? And the answer that we can come up with right now is simply we don't know. So I would say that until we get further guidance on, well, no, this remote learning day would replace a day, then that's something totally different. But as you know, we do have bank time. So it could be a possibility that and again, using November 25th as an example, we could use our bank time for the weather day and still leave it in place as a remote learning day.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bobby, Craig, Lowry, do we still doing exams for high school students before Christmas break?
Yes, sir. With this particular calendar, we did not adjust the end of either semester. Only thing we did, again, based upon the law, it started a week earlier, which really helps our high schools because they get 5 additional days where they wouldn't have under the old calendar.
Thank you.
Mr. Bobby, at this time, any other questions from board members? At this time, do we need to move this to an action item? Do you need it approved now?
Well, in our conversation with Ms. Thompson and Dr. Wooten, I believe we would like for this to go ahead and be moved to an action item so we can get this information to parents. Because again, that date change in August is going to make a difference as to what plans parents or students may make.
I have one question, Mr. Bobby, just one question. Did you have any teacher input in this change with your committee?
Yes, Dr. Emmanuel, what we decided to do was use the same calendar committee that we used to develop our original calendar. And we had the teacher of the year on there and Miss Dee Grissett from RAE as a representative as well. And everyone on that particular call was in agreement of the changes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'd entertain a motion to set aside policy at this time to move it to an action item.
Brenda Fairley Fairby, so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Brian Freeman,
Dwayne
second.
Smith, second.
Motion by board member Brenda Fairby, and I think Dwayne got his second in.
That's fine. Either way, it'd be fine.
All right. Thank you. Dr. Wooten, would you please call the roll on that?
Ms. Fairby,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Dr. Buller, Mr. Craig Lowry,
Yes.
Did you call my name? I didn't hear you. Yes.
Mr. Mike Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Randall Dawson,
Yes.
Mr. Charles.
Well, that gives us the majority. I mean, the super majority. We need to move it. Those opposed? Any? Okay. The motion to move it to an action item is to set aside policy is and move it is approved. While we're thinking about it, could we get a motion to go ahead and approve it then? Approve the calendar changes.
Dr. Wooten, control motivation.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the updated.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mike Smith. I make a motion that we approve the revised calendar.
Craig Lowry, second.
Moved in second. Those in favor, Dr. Wooten's gonna poll the board.
Ms. Fairley,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Buller,
Yes.
Ray Lowry,
Yes.
Dwayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson.
Yes.
Well, the ayes obviously have it. The revised calendar is approved. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bobby.
Thank you.
And Ms. Thompson, yes. Dr. Robert Locklear.
Thank you.
Exceptional children update, please.
Good evening, Chairman Campbell, Superintendent Wooten, and board members. Hope you are well and staying safe during this unprecedented time. Robert Locklear. First of all, we want to thank our dedicated principals, our EC teachers, our paraprofessionals, our EC program specialists, our school psychologists, EC social workers, our student success advocates, also our contract providers, behavior specialists. But most of all, we want to thank Ms. LaTanya Burney, Courtney Sutton, and Mary Jacobs as we continue to make strides in the Exceptional Children Program. Just to give the board a brief update, we are conducting daily EC meetings to discuss our monitoring plan, which is part of the corrective action from the Department of Public Instruction. We are constantly communicating with our principals, our EC teachers on upcoming IEPs, and making sure we're meeting the goals as outlined in our students' IEPs. We continue to meet with our State Board of Education and DPI partners during our bi-monthly sessions. For the EC proposed plan of action, we have developed a 30, 60, and 90-day plan, which our consultant has looked at and has approved that plan and feels like it's a great target for us as we move forward. And of course, that was placed in your packet. Also, we're doing the remote learning plan during this unprecedented time. We're addressing and documenting working on students' IEPs in the remote learning environments. Also, our EC program specialists continue to monitor to make sure that they're providing that supportive role for our EC teachers, such as documented observations, providing feedback and coaching, etc. We do our weekly updates to DPI as it relates to our overdue eligibility. And hopefully you had a chance to look at the charts that we provided you in the PDF file. With the evaluation service plan, we're constantly working with our school nurses, our guidance counselors to help us with our health screenings and classroom observations so that we can move those reevaluations and initials through the pipeline in an expeditious manner. And of course, you know, since we're not able to do face-to-face, that has put a halt with our school psychologists working on those reevals and initials. And as today, we still have 145 of those to complete. So once we're able to do face-to-face, the team has a plan in place that DPI has already approved, so we can go ahead and get those taken care of. Our school psychologists, of course, are still faced with a large backlog, as I just explained, but they have made sure that as soon as we are able to open back up, those IEPs will be addressed as top priority. And of course, we want to thank our DPI partners, especially to Carol Ann and Jessica Swinsky and their team that has been working with us almost on a daily basis to make sure that we're meeting the corrective action action items that we are adhered to. And I think we're making tremendous progress, Chairman Campbell. So at this time, I'll entertain any questions that you may have.
Any questions from any board members? Well, thank you, Dr. Locklear. There seems to be no questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And please continue then with the information on remote learning.
Okay, Chairman Campbell, Superintendent Wood, board members, as Mr. Bobby just talked about our remote instructional days that's required by law, we are working with our team to develop the instructional plan, which we have to turn into DPI by July 20th, 2020. And in your packet, we gave you an example of what we'll be working on. There are 13 components in that plan that we have to make sure that is followed by the law, which will make sure that we will deliver quality remote instruction to all students for the 2020-21 school year, as well as information on how to train teachers, support students and families, and of course, to make sure that we are engaging with our community stakeholders. Also, we have to make sure that there's a requirement for those 5 days that we just talked about, how we're going to make sure that those 5 days, the guidelines have been met. So the team between student support services and curriculum instruction are working as we speak. They started a couple of days ago, so they have already started working on a thorough and extensive plan that we'll be sharing with you once that has been completed. So we want to make sure that we have the remote learning plan in place that will focus on high quality instructional materials, curricular resources, clear lesson plans, and units of study, and making sure that the activities are engaging for the entire 2021 academic school year. And the plan must focus on the following. We want to make sure that the data must inform the plans for remote learning. We want to make sure we focus on equity, which that is a very big piece of the plan. We want to make sure that we create a base with, as I said earlier, with the high quality instructional materials so teachers can be creative and build on top of what they'll be doing at that time. We want to make sure that the planning will be different for elementary, middle, and high school students. We want to make sure that we're providing our teachers and support staff with the support that they need in professional development, making sure those school experiences are preparing the students for the future, maybe making sure that they're able to make and deliver new learning experiences, and also making sure that the district is in a survival mode, learn from this experience, see what is working, see what we can fix and make it stronger. Also, we want to encourage and challenge our people to make sure things that they haven't tried before that they are going to try during these remote learning days, and also make sure that we're creating safe spaces for our educators to share, borrow, and iterate ideas, and make sure we document those best practices. And the last piece is making sure that we involve our parents and families so that they will be buy-in with this program, and make sure that we create those materials and videos that's going to support our parents who are serving today as co-teachers. And as I said, the equity piece is very important. We want to make sure that equity must be at the center of our response, especially as we look at the educational activities. We want to make sure that we focus on what is the best support for our vulnerable students. When you think about our EC students, our students that are experiencing homelessness, our English language learners, those students that are serving as the parents when those parents are at work and the older siblings are having to take care of their younger siblings, we got to look at the social and emotional piece and how we can provide services to those students. But when we talk about that, we look at the barriers that we face here in the public schools of Robeson County. Our students, there's some in our district that may not have the access to the devices as other students, talking about the high-speed internet, making sure that the students have working devices that they can do their remote learning lessons on, and making sure that, as I stated earlier, students with disabilities, prioritize how we're going to work with those students, especially when it comes to the physical therapy, the occupational therapy, and so forth. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we focus on providing meals to our students. Our child nutrition program has done a phenomenal job the last few weeks, making sure that our kids are getting meals that they need. When parents can't come and pick up the meals, transportation is provided. and making sure we're collaborating with our food banks and pantries to make sure that our students are getting the meals that they need each and every day. So that's just a synopsis of our remote and reentry plan. And at this time, I'll entertain any questions that you may have.
Dr. Robert, this is Linda Emanuel.
Yes, Dr. Manuel.
I have a question. I think Mr. Craig or someone may have asked this before you all were going to research it. Did you ever find out what percentage of our children that were never reached or they didn't respond to our remote learning? This,
yes.
You know, y'all were going to do a survey to find out how many children that didn't take part in it. I know everybody made every effort to get the children to take part, but invariably some children did not. Do you know about what percentage it was?
Yes, ma'am. And I placed those charts, Dr. Manuel.
I see it now. It's coming up now.
Yes, ma'am. And I want to make sure because I think it was Mr. Craig who got us thinking about the percentages.
Sorry,
so
Mr. Craig. I thought I didn't remember it was you.
And
Go
so
ahead.
we immediately went ahead and done a survey, and I think it was Mr. Davis and Ms. Susan Hendricks worked on that for us as our district representatives. And so we did provide those in your packet. So if you have any questions at this time, I'll answer those for you.
Question generically for the public, I know they haven't looked at them and I'm just glancing them. What percentage would you say that did not take part in any online or any kind of distance learning this summer since this COVID has started?
Yes, so we're between 18 and 20%.
Okay.
We weren't able to make contact with the families at all. So that was a big barrier that we faced. Because the number that we had on file was we just couldn't get the parents to answer that phone, and a lot of them had been disconnected.
Dr. Robert, this is Craig.
Yes, sir,
And,
Mr. Craig.
And Dr. Emmanuel, anyone, that information does start on that PDF file, I think around page 55 or 56.
Yes, sir.
One of the issues, Dr. Robert, with the remote learning, and just wondering, have y'all looked out or what are you looking for from outside help with laptops, Chromebooks, the internet situation we have for the lack of wiring and access in various areas? Are we looking at outside sources helping us with that? Our teachers and staff are going to do what needs to be done.
Yes, sir.
But there's much help needed to get these devices to children, as you said, and just where we don't have access. Are we looking for some outside help for those two areas?
Yes, sir. At Mr. Craig, I want to say we received through Department of Instruction, we received 10 hotspots for our district. So I know Ms. Karen Brooks Floyd and Mr. Everett, his technology department, are working with the superintendent on coming up with a plan on how those are going to be distributed. But you're right, there's areas in the southern part of the county that is in desperate need of assistance. As a matter of fact, I talked with a parent today with that same issue that she doesn't have internet at her home. She doesn't have a hotspot. So it has been a challenge. So we are working with DPI. I know that we had talked about providing additional devices, purchasing those for the district on some funds that we may have left over. I know that's still in the discussion stage, but we are looking at purchasing some more devices. I know Mr. Duncan gave a presentation at the state board meeting, and they're looking at purchasing 300,000 Chromebooks for North Carolina. So hopefully PSRC will receive some of those also, Mr. Craig.
Sounds good. And you might have mentioned it. There's something about school buses getting some additional buses for hotspots. Any idea how many of those we would get on the bus situation?
Yes, sir. Now those 10 hotspots, and I know Ms. Karen's on the line also, so I'm not for sure if I'll answer this correctly, but I know we received 10 hotspots for the district, and if those will go on the buses, Mr. Craig, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure how that would work, but I know we received 10 hotspots, but I would think that they would go on the buses. But that's
Mr. Campbell.
Yes, Mr. Freeman.
This is Mr. Freeman. Dr. Locklear, I had some thoughts as you were sharing that presentation. one of the things that I know that we did a really good job is we learned from the hurricane, and something I think that your team needs to do is reflect on this remote learning experience. And as we progress to the new school year, what are ways that we can get our elementary and middle school students involved in online learning so that they're set up in Google Classroom, their parents are connected with their phones, be it like maybe Class Dojo, they're having some type of Google Meets, so that if something happens again in the future, that you got 5 remote learning days. So I think that this will be the new normal. They are going to be involved in the future with that. But it's sad to hear that we've lost 80% of those students because we weren't prepared. So I think we need to think about how do we start off the new school year, getting them involved online learning, what opportunities can we provide, continue those partnerships. And also, Dr. Wooten, one of the things that I would suggest in the middle of the year in January when we come back is to update all the parent numbers in Power School. You can send home forms and have them to update that information because those numbers you're probably calling were submitted in August. And so that's something we can do a better job of, is making sure that we have the right information, that even if they don't have internet, we can call and do a health check and check in on those students. Thank you.
And Mr. Freeman, thank you for those concerns. And yes, some of those have already been addressed through our support services when it comes to our student success advocates helping us to track down students. So that we shared that with our principals, making sure that they are updating in Power School the telephone numbers, because like I said, I know our parents move a lot. We have a lot of itinerants. Parents go through cell phone numbers, some of them 4 or 5 times a year. So yes, that's a concern that we have already addressed. As it relates to the remote learning plan, I know that CIA and Student Services are working to develop, because the actual plan says for the 2021 school year. So we're still concerned. Does that mean for the entire school year? And it just, so that we still have a lot of questions that we need to address from DPI and the state board, because if they want to still plan for the entire school year, that's very cumbersome, and we're going to do what we need to do. But there are some areas that we're definitely going to focus on to make sure that we are reaching more parents, more families. Like I said, those partnerships, because like I said, when we left on March, I think it was the 17th, the students left on the 13th. At that time, we didn't know it was going to be two months, and now we don't know when we're going to return back to school. So we definitely want to address all of those concerns that you mentioned. So thank you, Mr. Freeman.
Thank you. Dr. Locklear.
Yes, sir.
Just a question about how would that the hotspots on buses work? Would the buses, when would they have access to it, as buses go through the community, or would they be parked in the community at a school near them? How would that work?
Yes, sir. Now on the research, Mr. Campbell, that I've read and worked with some other folks on, they would be the bus, if there's a hotspot on the bus, it would be placed in a certain area. Let's say, like, I live here in the Fairgrove community that lacks the broadband and the internet access. So if we could get one on a bus, say in this area, and then the parents would just have to drive close to the bus to be able to use the Wi-Fi, just like we do at our schools now. Some of our parents go up to the school and can access Wi-Fi just by pulling in the parking lot.
And we could secure that bus so that the hotspot wouldn't be damaged.
Yes, sir. I would think that there would be security and protection in place to make sure that the bus is going to be safe. Yes, sir.
Mr. Campbell, this is Mr. Freeman again. I believe there's around 9 or 10 buses that Robeson County is supposed to get. Maybe Dr. Wooten can verify that information, and they'll strategically be placed in areas where they don't have Wi-Fi access.
We need about 5 of them in the southern end of the county. And I'm just kidding, but yeah, we do need a lot of help down south of Fairmount, going toward South Carolina, the Marietta community. It's awfully hard to have access there.
Yes, sir.
Chairman Campbell.
Yes, Ms. Fairley.
Yes, Brenda Fairley. What about households that does not have vehicles to get to the areas. How are we addressing that?
Yeah, yes, Ms. Fairley, that's a very good question. And that is something that we have been talking for the last few weeks, because like you said, a lot of our parents don't have vehicles. They really don't have anywhere to get in there. So that is a concern that we definitely are working on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fairley.
It's just one among many challenges that we continue to face in rural North Carolina. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you much. Dr. Locklear, continue please with Title VI grant.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. Our Title VI grant, first of all, I want to thank Dr. Connie Locklear, our Director for Indian Education. She done a great job as we partook in our public hearing for the Title VI grant on Monday, April 30th. We had several folks that were able to speak on behalf of the grant. So I just want to commend her and her leadership for all that she's done to make sure that this grant is being adhered to. Also, with our continuing consultation with the Lumbee tribe, which we are required to do in reference to the ESSA law, which is the Elementary Secondary School Act. In your packet, the grant application is for the upcoming academic school year. And at this time, I'm just going to highlight the main points of the grant. I'm not going to go through the entire grant. But for personnel, last year's total was $1,885,047. This year, the increase is somewhere around $35,823. And with Dr. Connie and Miss Erica, with their collaborative effort, most of that additional fund will go toward salary increases, as Miss Erica mentioned earlier, with the hospitalization and insurance. That will take up probably all of that 35,000. But of course, we're keeping the same number of employees. We're not losing any. The travel this year, there will be no change, and that's around $80,000. Supplies, last year we got somewhere around 50,000. This year, the budget, the application, we're asking for 70,000, which is an increase of 20,000. For our contractual services, last year's total was 95,000. This year it's 93,000 with a decrease of 2,000. And with the total amount, the total project is $2,183,974. Last year, the total was $2,132,912. So this year, we're getting an increase of $51,062. And of course, you all know that this is the largest Title VI grant in the United States. So we are very pleased with Dr. Connie Locklear's leadership and working with the folks in Washington, D.C., also at the state board level, DPI, getting all the pertinent information in to get this done in a timely manner. So this time, Chairman Campbell, I'll entertain any questions that any of the board members may have.
Linda Emanuel again. Dr. Robert, what's entailing in that contract of services? The 75,000, what would that include? What would that look like? No, is it 93,000? I mean, it's like, I guess, are you paying people? Is that going to somebody, people?
Yes.
I understand what it's for. I'm looking at that, but I guess what I'm trying to understand is contract of service. It's not people, it's for what?
No, it's services, Dr. Emanuel, like when we do our Cultural Academy program, and we bring in consultants to work with our students, that would fall under contractual services.
Chairman Campbell, this is Erica Setzer, and Dr. Robert, could I add?
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Erica.
Dr. Emanuel, the largest portion of that 80,000 is for the enrichment camp. And that's the summer camp that will occur in the next summer. That's probably the largest part of that 80,000 of the 93.
Okay, so it's not like one person getting something.
Right. No, ma'am. That's all the YDS and the other people that work in the summer employment and all the costs associated with that summer camp.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
May I ask at this time, what are the plans for the summer camp this year? With,
Yeah,
with the pandemic and all of that?
yes, sir. Summer camps have been canceled for this school year, Chairman Campbell. And we have already publicized that through our social media networks. And Dr. Connie has done a good job getting the YDS to get the word out also.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments, questions to Dr. Locklear?
Dr. Campbell, do we need to, is this a set aside policy or amend or?
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, we're requesting the board set aside policy and move it to action item.
Okay, this is Dwayne Smith. Motion to set aside policy.
Second, Linda Emanuel.
Moved in second by Dr. Dwayne Smith and seconded by Mr. Charles Bullock, or was that Craig?
That was Linda Emanuel, I think.
Dr. Emanuel, thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Wooten, please call a roll call, please.
Ms. Harvey,
Yes. Yes.
Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Buller,
Yes.
Craig Lowry,
Yes.
Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson,
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion, Dwayne Smith, motion to approve.
Craig Lowry, second.
Moved and seconded. Dr. Wooten, roll call vote, please.
Linda Harvey,
Yes.
Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Buller,
Yes.
Craig Lowry,
Yes.
Wayne Smith,
Yes.
thank you.
Board members, someone, we have some disturbing background noise going on somewhere.
Look at it. John Campbell,
Yes.
Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson,
Yes.
The yeses have it. There being no nay votes, so it has been approved.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
The grant has been approved, and we thank Dr. Connie and all who have worked to bring these resources to our students in our county. Thank you so much. Ms. Jennifer Freeman, at this time, let's ask you to come for sharing on the grading policy at this time, please.
Jennifer Freeman. Good evening, Chairman Campbell, Superintendent Wooten, and board members. The State Board of Education approved a statewide grading policy due to COVID-19 pandemic and extended school building closures. The goal of the State Board of Education grading policy was to develop a statewide grading policy that positively impacts as many students as possible with grace and generosity, while validating the efforts of students, families, teachers, and support staff during remote learning. Specific recommendations for each grade span were developed for the elementary, middle, and high school spans. After receiving guidance from the State Board of Education, the public schools of Robeson County developed a grading policy work group. The work group consisted of various stakeholders that included central office staff, principals, teachers, and parents. The PSRC grading policy work group leaders were K5, Dr. Sandra Evans, 6-8, Mr. Stephen Sinclair, 9-12, Mr. Bobby Locklear. The district is following the State Board of Education grading policy. I'll begin with the elementary and I'll conclude with the seniors. You have before you and what you have received in your packet is what Dr. Wooten is sharing and displaying at this time. I will share that with you as we move forward. The final grade for 2019, 2020, students grades K through 5 will not receive a final grade. So what does that mean for PSRC? No final grade. Feedback will be given in lieu of the numerical grade. Teachers will provide year-end written feedback for students, families based on their learning this school year. And school district leaders have decided the format for this feedback. And we have just recently met with our principals to discuss the report cards and provide the end-of-year dissemination plan. Feedback will be used for the reentry in the 2021 academic school year. The feedback that the students will be receiving on their final year report will be focused in the areas of academic and social and emotional guidance. What does that mean in terms of social and emotional learning? There are 5 areas that we want to make sure that parents receive documentation, and those areas include self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, and relationship skills. Also, we will identify on the final report period, we will actually identify with them where their strengths and areas of needed or improvements are. So this is the overall view for grades K-5. In middle school, grades 6 through 8, students in grades 6 through 8 will receive a final course grade of PC 19, which means pass, or WC 19, withdrawal. Teachers will provide year-end written feedback for academic and social and emotional learning for students based on their learning this school year. WC 19 does not mean the student failed the course and does not imply grade retention for middle school students. WC 19 means there is a lack of evidence the student mastered the course standards. Middle school students enrolled in high school courses will follow the 9/11 grading policy. First semester grades will remain intact for students in grades 6 through 8. And students in grades 9 through 11, the second semester grades the students will receive a grade of A through D, or WC, which is withdrawal, if failing a course. Teachers are expected to exhaust all methods of outreach for students who are failing to ensure they have the opportunity to improve their grade to a passing one. Students who receive an A through D letter grade will have the option to select PC 19 instead during the first semester or the first 9 weeks in the fall, and that will be site specific. GPA will not be affected with PC 19. However, students with PC 19 will receive credit for the course. WC 19 will not affect their GPA. WC 19 receives no course credit, but students can take advantage of future credit recovery or repeating a course for the grade or credit recovery. Again, that it will be site specific for each high school. Seniors, as of March 13, 2020, a senior will receive PC 19 or pass course, or WC 19, based on the work completed. If a student was failing a course of March 13th, the student has the option to complete work that will improve their overall grade to PC 19. No senior's GPA will be impacted as a result of COVID-19. That is a quick overview of the grading policy that the public schools of Robeson County followed very strategically when deciding that policy. I will entertain any questions at this time.
Chairman Campbell,
Yes, Ms. Fairby.
Ms. Freeman. Now, our
Oh,
Hispanic community and other students that we have not been able to make contact with, what is in plan for them right now? I know you all are working on much.
I'm not, you're referring to how will they be, they will be following whatever the process is for that grade span. That is how the student will be addressed. If the student is in grades K through 5, then that student will not receive a final grade. They will receive a final reporting period with feedback that will address the academic and social and emotional learning, as well as any other areas of strength and areas of needed improvement. It is grade specific based upon what each student receives. No student will be penalized because that is where the State Department made very clear their guidance that we want to grade students with grace and generosity. So no student will be penalized.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Any other comments? Any other questions for Ms. Freeman?
Ms. Freeman, this is Craig, and I think you just touched on what I was going to ask about. Our policies that you've incorporated followed closely or right along with what the state board recommended, right?
Yes, absolutely. The state board guidance, actually, if you would look at the state board guidance for our grading policy, if you look at K5, K5 mirrors exactly what the state board has provided guidance for us to do. And when you look at the continuing policies, they all represent, the grading policies represent each grade span based upon the guidance provided by the State Department of Ed.
And in no case are we going above what the state board is saying. We're in line, or I'm going to say a little below what they're saying. We're not going or requiring more than what the state board is saying.
No, we're not requiring any more than what the state board has said. Matter of fact, there's been strong encouragement and much outreach to make sure that we are reaching all students, giving them the opportunity to continue to complete their work. And that is very, very important to the district, that no student be penalized. And again, all students be treated with grace and generosity. And we will err on the side of the student.
Good. And the last thing, there was a comment made about the high schools looking, I think, next fall when people are coming back and they're having to look at adjusting grades or what has to be done then. I know there would be some individual things done at each school, but again, I would hope all of our schools are as consistent and doing as much as they could the same throughout the county and not have one school being a lot different from another school.
Right. The committees that were spearheaded by the different work group team leaders made sure that those items were stressed, and we have continued to stress that in terms of the grading policy. And again, we want to make sure that students know when they return, those students in 9-11 or a middle school student that is actually taking a high school course, they have the opportunity the first 9 weeks upon entering high school to revisit that letter grade. And then that will become site specific on how each site, meaning high school, will work with each student in terms of credit recovery. So all students are going to be given an additional option, not only during this time, but as we reopen in the fall. And if we do not reopen, then we will revisit that, but students will still have that opportunity to improve where they were.
Okay,
because we wanted to make sure student voice was very encouraged in this process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Jennifer. Would you continue then with the pre-K kindergarten registration information, please?
Yes, Chairman Campbell. Title I pre-K registration, I'm speaking specifically to that. I will yield to Dr. Robert Locklear in just a few moments, that he will share with us what it looks like in terms of shining stars. But in terms of Title I pre-K, our steps are as follows. Principals have been asked to complete the dissemination schedule, which we put together an end-of-year dissemination plan. And so principals, we've met with them routinely, and we recently met with them yesterday, and each principal has an end-of-year dissemination plan. And during that dissemination plan, they are to work forward and move forward those schools where it is applicable with the Title I pre-K. They will complete the dissemination schedule by May 15th. Once completed, the Title I pre-K supervisor will review each school's schedule and schedule appointments accordingly. Appointments will be made on parent responses to the Title I Pre-K intent form that was shared via Facebook and the PSRC website on April the 7th. Registration will take place in a designated area of the school while maintaining the capacity requirements as enforced by the governor's orders. Social distancing, of course, will be imposed by having markers on the floor to designate where to stand, and this will occur during the week of June 1st through 5th. At that time, we're thinking there may be some changes too in terms of Governor Cooper's executive order. So again, this is a flow that we're working with, and this is a very fluid process that we're describing right now. The Title I Pre-K supervisor will work with each principal to support the procedures that he or she has determined to be the best for their respective school, whether registration takes place inside or with a drive-in approach, because they have an opportunity to make that happen based upon the school's needs and site-based management. The Title I Pre-K supervisor will work with the teacher at each school to cross-reference appointment schedules with applications that were already submitted to the school. If teachers already have an application on file at the school, the parent will not need to participate in the registration event. Some may have already completed, and therefore we're working with each case individually to make sure that we reach our Title I Pre-K students this year. At this time, I'll yield to Dr. Locklear to share with you Shining Stars as well.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Freeman. Robert Locklear here. As it relates to Shiny Stars registration, this year has been a very difficult one due to COVID-19. Shiny Stars usually has more applications at this time. As of today, we have 71 applications that we have received from our sites in Pembroke Elementary, East Robinson, Magnolia, Piney Grove, St. Paul's Elementary, and our Lumberton site. And so we really need everyone to get the word out that we are accepting applications. Like Ms. Freeman said, everybody is working diligently, try to recruit as many students as we possibly can. So out of a 253 available slots, we've only had 71 applications. So we are constantly advertising through our Shiny Star Facebook page, as well as Dr. Burnett has posted on our PSRC school Facebook page. Under announcements on our website, there's a link for parents to complete the application process. All of our schools where we host Shiny Stars classrooms, the teachers and administrators are working to help fill those slots as well. Our NC pre-K teachers and EC teachers are reaching out to families and communities as much as possible to help get the word out about the eligibility of this program. And also, we're in constant contact with the principal at Southside Ashbowl, since they no longer have the pre-K program on site. They're helping us to refer parents of 4-year-old students so we can get those enrolled at Shiny Star as well. So both our Shiny Star site and in Pembroke and Lumberton, are licensed developmental day programs. So we accept the severely delayed students through the IEP process, and those children are at the ages of 3 or 4, and 50 of those slots are at this time, 45 of those have been filled. So we only have 5 of those slots remaining. So just want to thank all of our principals and teachers, all of our partners, just helping us get the word out, and anything that the board members could do, Chairman Campbell, we would really appreciate it. Just let everyone know that we are accepting applications. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Freeman.
Thank you, Dr. Locklear.
Thank you. And board members, anyone, any comments, questions of Dr. Locklear, Ms. Freeman?
Dr. Campbell, if I may, Chairman Campbell, if I may proceed very briefly, I'll give a very brief overview of kindergarten registration, because it has been a whirlwind to continue to try to register our students, but we have many students that are needing to register for kindergarten. So we have had much communication on what is the best way to make that happen. So what we've decided to do is we'll be using an online platform. It's PowerSchool. It is a company. And we have received a quote from them. We have approved that, and it is an online company that allows online enrollment and registration. It will allow parents and guardians to register anytime, anywhere. The platform does require the use of a smartphone, iPad, or laptop. We've also asked that this document or this online platform will require different additional languages. And so our largest speaking additional languages in the public schools of Robeson County is again Spanish and Haitian Creole. So that platform will allow us to visit those students of those languages and to process their online registration. We anticipate the online registration will roll out somewhere in mid-June. We're in the process of making sure that all the pre-planning and all the work is happening now behind the scenes, and we'll have more information forthcoming at a later time with the specifics of how that will occur. But we will make sure that our kindergarten students are registered this year because we're looking forward to having those new kinder people in our building. That's all I have at this time.
Who's going to speak on child nutrition?
Mr. Campbell?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. I've concluded for the kindergarten registration.
Okay, then please, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I can
we
now.
can hear you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Karen Brooks Floyd, would you come at this time then, please?
Yes. Good evening, Chairman, Superintendent, board members. I'm Karen Brooks Floyd. And first, I'd like to give you some child nutrition updates. The emergency feeding sites are going to be ending meal delivery on May 22nd, which is the original last day of school. We will start with our our traditional summer feeding program beginning on Tuesday, May 26th, continuing at the same sites. The difference this year at the present is that it will be meal pickup only. And they are the same 10 sites that we use for emergency feeding. We also have 2 programs that we are excited about. Emergency Meals for You, which is a grant that was approved for Parkton, Fairgrove, Littlefield, Rex Reynolds, South Robinson, Union, Orem, Union Chapel. And students that attend these schools qualify. And all the children in that household, if it's one child at one particular school, all the children in that household qualify and get meals mailed to their house. They get 2 weeks worth of meals, which is breakfast and lunch, that are mailed to their house. And we submitted applications for 1,168 households, which equaled 2,596 children receiving shelf-stable meals being mailed directly to their home. Also, since our county is a CEP program, which is community eligibility provisions, all of our students in the public schools of Robeson County is eligible for the PEBT, which stands for Pandemic EBT. And the cards will automatically be mailed to the students' homes. So I think that's exciting because parents will receive $370 broken down to help feed our children during this vulnerable time. May 1st was School Lunch Hero Day, and we would like to celebrate and appreciate our child nutrition department. They have been on the front line serving our students breakfast and lunch during this time to make sure no kid goes hungry. Also, a shout out to Transportation Department and the National Guard for assisting in our meal delivery. And if I was there in person, I would ask everyone to give them a hand clap, but we do appreciate our child nutrition department. At this time, and that's all for child nutrition department updates.
I too want to, Ms. Karen Brooks Lord, to offer congratulations and thanks to all of those that have been involved in this effort to feed our children since this pandemic started. It's been a Herculean job to do what they've done, and so we certainly appreciate them. And they have been on the front line, that's for sure. So thank you, and thanks to our child nutrition department and all involved. Mr. Jerome, let me see. Ms. Brooks Floyd, if you would continue then with our athletics update.
Yes, we would like to give you some athletic updates on eligibility. Mr. Jerome Hunt, our county AD, I will yield to him at this time.
Good evening, Chairman Campbell, Dr. Wooten, board members. Hope you're doing well. First of all, let's say congratulations to Lumberton High School. A couple of weeks ago, they were named co-state champions in 4A boys basketball. And we look forward to the day that we can all come together and celebrate this great accomplishment. They deserve everything they get. Had an outstanding season. As far as the High School Athletics Association goes, they're treating this time as a dead period for all athletic teams and coaches, which means there's no in-person activities, and these restrictions will remain in place until further notice. As far as eligibility for the 2020-21 school year, any student that meets local promotion standards this school year will be eligible for participation in the fall. What that means is they're basically taking the attendance policy out of the equation for eligibility for next school year. Also, if a student has had a physical on or after March 1st, 2019, that physical will be good for the 2020-21 school year. They just changed the date. Originally, it was April 1st, but the day they changed it to March 1st. So those physicals will be good for 2 years instead of 1 year. As far as the summer workouts and fall participation, the High School Athletics Association cannot speculate on a return date for summer workouts or fall competition. And they will rely on advice from the governor, DHHS, and medical advisor before making a decision to move forward. And our middle schools will follow these same standards as the high school. That's all I have on athletics. You have any questions?
Any questions, comments, board members? We certainly do want to congratulate Lumberton Senior High, definitely.
Yes, sir.
On a remarkable year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Thank you. Would you continue then, Ms. Karen Brooks Floyd, student transfers?
Yes, sir. Student transfers. The student transfers that are turned in currently are being processed at this time. The link is still posted on the PSRC website, but based on policy 4150, the deadline for accepting student transfers was April the 1st. And we would like to officially be able to extend that deadline to June the 15th to give parents an opportunity, because we've been getting calls that some of them have missed it and what have you.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Wayne Smith. On this right here, Ms. Floyd, have you guys looked into, with the COVID-19, everything happening with the social distancing? And of course, we know how, the transfer policy works. Some schools end up with a lot more kids than other schools do. So, how is this going to be worked right here with, if you're still going to have this social distancing going on, and some schools with more kids than others? I mean, have you guys thought of this here, or how this is going to be addressed or anything?
Yes, sir. We've looked into it, and as always, we give the principals the opportunity to tell us about their numbers and the class sizes, and whether they can accept a particular transfer or not. So we had some discussion about it as well. But we still were concerned about making sure that parents had an opportunity, just in case.
And I think that's something that we'll probably have to address once we receive the transfers. That's when we'll look at the capacity, the class sizes, and things of that nature, and then look at if the child's been there, and we'll look at other factors that principals take into consideration. But we'll better know when we actually have a concrete re-entry plan, in terms of what the school already has and what they can receive from another school.
And then ultimately, John Campbell speaking, then ultimately the transfer approval still comes back to the board, Mr. Smith. So we'll still have an opportunity as a board to examine and give ultimate approval to the transfer as always. This doesn't change that process, does it, Dr. Wooten?
No, it doesn't.
No, sir.
We just wanted to push it back, because a lot of parents don't know at this time what the next steps are. So we didn't want to limit it to April 1st when we knew we were well past that date. We just wanted to give parents at this time, we typically be looking over all the transfers and present it for the first round of decisions. And so this summer, it'll probably just be one round, and we'll try and capture everything or every child at that time in June, probably July, in July or August.
Mr. Chairman, Brenda Fairley-Farabee.
Yes, Ms. Farabee.
With that being said, I'd like to set aside policy and go ahead and approve that we extend the transfers policy to June.
Randy Lawson, second.
It's moved and it's seconded, and the date to extend it is to when, Ms. Brooks Floyd?
June the 15th.
June the 15th.
June,
Okay.
June 15th.
It's been moved and seconded. Dr. Wooten, would you do the roll call for us, please?
Yes, sir. Linda Farabee,
Yes.
Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Buller,
Yes.
Frank Lauer,
Yes.
Dwayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Linda Manuel,
Yes.
Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson,
Yes.
The yes have it. It's been moved to approve to be moved to an action item, setting aside policy. I'd entertain a motion now to approve the extension.
Brian Freeman,
Mr.
motion
Chairman,
to approve.
Mr. Freeman made a motion to approve. And
Brenda
Ms. Farabee?
Fairley-Farabee, second. Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Dr. Wooten, again, please.
Linda Farabee,
Yes.
Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Buller, Greg Lauer,
Yes.
Dwayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson,
Yes.
Charles Wood.
Yes.
That's unanimous. The request to extend the deadline for application is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Under capital projects, we want to look at a couple of items. Dr. Wooten?
And just fairly briefly, we wanted to just update you on some projects that are currently taking place and bring some new ideas in terms of that could possibly alleviate the overcrowding in some of our schools. The first, the central office update. As you may or may not know, we've been in the process of doing updates and work at JC Hargrave because we knew that our lease ended at the BB&T building at the end of June. So we are on track to move in fairly quickly at the end of June. And we're going to have that final walkthrough with Mr. Brown.
I lost Dr. Wooten.
I can't hear anything now.
Well, we lost Dr. Wooten at that time, at this time. Also, under capital projects, we were interested in hearing from some conversation and discussion about some things at St. Paul's Middle School. Is there anyone that would speak to that as the grade
I can talk to
reconfiguration?
it. Dr. Wooten gets back if you want me to.
Please proceed, Mr. Smith.
This is Mike, yeah. I had talked to Dr. Wooten about, we know there's a problem at St. Paul's Elementary with about 1,000 kids, K through 5, and I went up there with Mr. Ernie Hammonds. We walked around the middle school with the principal and assessed the situation there, and we feel very comfortable that we can move the 5th grade to St. Paul's Middle School and take those students away from the about 50 kids that would be moved from the St. Paul's Elementary School, which would help with some of that crowding up there.
Discussion? We're talking about moving, Mr. Mike, saying we're talking about moving the 5th grade from St. Paul's Elementary
Yes,
to
sir.
St. Paul's Middle School.
Yeah. Because of the overcrowding. And there's room, there's enough room at the middle school to accommodate.
Mr. Chairman, Brenda Fairley Farabee.
Yes, Ms. Farabee.
I think with us not knowing what we're going to be facing with the COVID-19, this is a good step in moving forward to try to alleviate some of the heavy growth that we got in that area.
This is Linda Emanuel. I think it's a great idea. I mean, it would immediately take away, I'm not sure how many 5th grades are there. Do you know, Mr. Mike?
There's 5.
6.
There's 5, I think maybe 6.
Yeah, that would really give the elementary school some space to spread out and do what they're supposed to do in the elementary school and not be overcrowded.
It's like 148 students. And it's about classrooms with 25 students per class.
Well, has it been discussed with any parents, Mr. Mike, that you know of?
Oh, no. We got to go through the proper procedures to make it all happen. But,
okay.
And right now it's 920 some kids at St. Paul's or at St. Paul's Elementary.
That's too many for that facility.
Yes, it is.
Dr. Wooten, you're back.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Campbell, this is Mr. Freeman. I definitely agree. I think everyone knows there is that overcrowding issue at St. Paul's Elementary, but at some point, especially as Brenda said with COVID-19, we may have to look at doing some kind of virtual town hall with the parents to explain what's the rationale, why the move, get some of their input. And as a parent, you would want to know how is your student going to transition. So we need to be forward thinking in how are we going to address that if we can't meet face to face so that parents or citizens of St. Paul's can still have a voice in the matter.
And we can set that up relatively quickly because we do want to get in time of the process too, so we get their feedback on this.
So to proceed, what is the step in proceeding with, I know it's a process, but what's the next step, Dr. Wooten?
Because we've got estimates in place and we spoke to Ms. Setzer earlier today, the funding is there, but again, we would proceed to get input from parents, the community, and just have those discussions first and foremost. And then we would bring that back. It could be in between tonight and the next board meeting. I think everyone is willing to do that to make sure it happens in a timely manner. But we could schedule those meetings in the next week or so and make sure the word is out so we can contact those parents. So we can do that. And then again, the funding is there. We can move forward with that once we have another meeting to approve it.
So are we trying to do this for St. Paul's Elementary and St. Paul's Middle for the upcoming school year?
Yes, because if we could, and we have those meetings next week. Right now, we discussed the renovations. You have some spaces that are easier to work in than others. There are two major areas where we need new classrooms, 2 classrooms. That's going to be a little bit more timely. For the most part, things are okay and things are in place to make it a seamless transition. However, I think while we have the kids out, when the students are not there, we could get a lot of work done and it can happen fairly quickly.
Dr. Wooten, this is Brian Freeman. Just for public information, what is the estimated cost for this renovation and where will those funds come from?
It would come from our lottery funds. The estimated cost, we did do a walkthrough in April while we were out on spring break. And so the estimate is $282,000. And in your board packet, you receive the scope of work and the information from LL&J, and we've worked with them before, but they talked about some of the renovations that will need to take place.
Dr. Wooten,
Yes, sir.
like you said, I know we got to have the meetings or however we conduct those, but the principal at the elementary school definitely needs to do the phone thing where they contact all the 5th graders. Everybody needs to be contacted, but you definitely need to contact those parents of the 5th grade.
Yes, I think this is one of those things where we're going to have to make sure, and just with the remote learner, we're going to have it's a communication law, because we don't want to just call once and say we couldn't get them. Mm-hmm. We'll exhaust all of our options to make sure we do.
So tonight, in order to proceed, do we just need a vote of the board that we will pursue this?
What I'll do, I'll go ahead and I'll set up those community meetings so we can get that feedback. And I will do that fairly quickly so we can have enough notice for parents so we don't inconvenience anyone. And then we could come back quickly thereafter and move forward if you'd like to at that point.
Dr. Wood, I think, and Mr. Campbell, this is Mike again. I think it would be prudent if we went ahead and, if we could,
do it
preliminary approve it that way. We're already in, this month and time will get by pretty quick. I just say approve it pending, the hearings from the parents and committees.
Okay. And I will once we do that, I'll make sure we'll all be involved in that, but I'll make sure we get the information together and share that so everyone can see the comments and feedback for those if you cannot participate. But we'll take care of that as soon as possible. So yes. Pending.
So I see that it could be in two parts. One would be, do you want to lump it all together? The grade reconfiguration, which would require board approval at St. Paul's Elementary and St. Paul's Middle School. And then the second part, of course, is the renovation and updates that includes the funding to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Mr. Grady could answer that for us. Can we put all of that in one motion, Mr. Grady, or do we need to deal with those separately?
You can put it all in one motion. Just be precise as to what we're doing.
Well, if there's the will of the board to set aside policy to do that, then I definitely entertain the motion to set aside that policy, and then we can move to approve proceeding.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to make that motion to set aside policy this time. For St. Paul's Middle and St. Paul's Elementary.
Is there a second?
Second.
Who's that, please?
That's Craig.
Mr. Craig.
It's Greg Lauer, second. Dr. Wooten, would you do the honors, please, and a roll
John,
call?
before we go there, Chairman, let's be specific about what we're setting aside policy for.
For both items, for reconfiguration of the grade levels and for the extent, the money allocation.
So reconfiguring the grade levels at St. Paul's Middle School and St. Paul's Elementary School, and preliminarily approving the allocation of funds to renovate St. Paul's Middle School.
Correct. And that's still all pending the board, the hearings.
Okay. Do we have to repeat that, Mr. Grady, or you said that for us? We heard it, right? We just make the motion.
I said it for you.
Okay.
Ms. Fairby,
Yes.
Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Buller,
Yes.
Craig Lauer,
Yes.
Dwayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Manuel,
Yes.
Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson,
Yes.
That's unanimous. And so it's approved to set aside policy. Entertain a motion then to approve the grade reconfiguration at both schools and to set aside funding, to appropriate funding pending public hearing to make that happen at St. Paul's Middle School.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman. This is Mike Smith.
It's Craig. I'll second it.
Moved and it's seconded. Dr. Wooten.
Brenda Fairby, Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Buller,
Yes.
Craig Lauer,
Yes.
Dwayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Manuel,
Yes.
Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson,
Yes.
Brenda Fairby. we have everyone.
Well, that's all but one vote. Which it is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've been talking about this problem with St. Paul's Elementary for years, and glad to see us take some action to give them some help there. Hopefully, they'll receive that as welcoming news in the St. Paul's Elementary School family. Any other comments as it relates to that? If not, we'll move to Mr. Smith for a report with finance and for finance, and Mr. Lawson as well with construction recommendations.
Mr. Chairman, you want to go, Randy? You want me to go?
Nah, you can go ahead.
We had the finance meeting a couple months ago, and we talked about 2 or 3 different things. But the one thing that was brought to our attention was the bleachers at Purnell Sweat High School, where we had 2 or 3 couple of safety issues, and we on to recommend that we replace those bleachers. Finance committee, of course. And I'll defer to Dr. Wooten now. She can incorporate. Dr. Wooten.
We looked at 2 options, and we thought that just the repair was not going to actually be very helpful, because then the bleachers would be locked into a certain position. And to get the new bleachers and to not have the same issues occur with students, getting their legs and feet stuck in between the bleachers, which is very dangerous. We said that we could actually replace the whole set of bleachers at Purnell Sweat, and the cost was approximately $224,000, and that money could come from capital outlay.
Said would come from where, Dr. Wooten?
Capital outlay.
Any other comments?
Randy Lawson, Mr. Craig, just to update on these bleachers. When was the last time they were changed out?
Mr. Lawson, this is Craig Lowry. To my knowledge, these are the original bleachers that were put at Purnell Sweat when the high school was first built. They've never been replaced. And just a little more update, and during the basketball season this past year, we had a high school student that they got stuck between 2 bleachers, and I think it took about 30 minutes to get their leg out. And that same night, there was a 3-year-old that their leg went down probably about to their knee. And that's how small that gap was, but the child still fell down. It did not take as long, but both of those students or children could have been injured. But the bleachers have not been replaced since the school was built. I think it was in 83, 84.
Okay, Mr. Craig, I'm good with that. But the floor's good, right?
Far as I know, everything I know about the floor is good.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah.
So this is an action item, Dr. Wooten. Of course, it takes everybody, and I just recommend that we replace those bleachers.
Okay.
Chairman of the Finance Committee.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith has made a motion to replace the bleachers at Purnell Sweat. Is there a second?
Second, this is Craig.
Moved in second. We would ask Dr. Wooten at this time to do a roll call vote, please.
Brenda Farabee. Brian Freeman.
Yes.
Charles Bullard.
Yes.
Craig Lowry.
Yes.
Dwayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mr. Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson,
Yes.
Brenda Farabee.
Looks like we've lost Miss Farabee. But she's muted anyway. But that's almost unanimous. We have 10.
I'm not
4.
muted. I can hear y'all, but y'all apparently can't hear me.
Now we can hear you.
I said yes to both of everything that's been done so far.
Okay, we hear you. Thank you. Thank you. So it's unanimous. So that is approved. Thank you.
Dr. Wood, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about out of the finance committee? I know there's a couple of them.
No, sir.
That's all at this time?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
And Mr. Lawson, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Setzer, coming with budget resolution.
Good evening again. Everything, all the other items listed under action items have been emailed out to everyone and included in the information that Dr. Wooten is sharing. So we'll start with the budget resolution, and this is just a summary by purpose function of the budget that was submitted earlier in March. And like again, it just takes that, I believe 52-page document that I presented then and summarizes everything by the purpose function. And this is actually what's the official budget that our auditors use each year. And I can answer any questions anyone has about that document.
Miss Erica.
Yes,
This is
ma'am.
Linda Emanuel. Would the monies not spent go over to your carryover for next year? Like the Title I, I'm just interested more so in Title I and what's left of 31 and 69. Would that go over to next year?
Yes and no. At this point, as of today, the state has not approved for any fund to carry over that has not historically carried over. So what that means is, as of right now, 31 low wealth will not carry over, but 069 or at risk will, because it has always historically carried over. Now that could change in between now and the end of the year, but that's where we are as of today. Title I, yes, will carry over. And actually the funds from this year, they're granting us an additional year. So the funds from this school year would not expire until September of 2021.
Wow, okay.
And that's
Thank you.
for most of the federal programs, with the exception of EC and CTE funds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Dwayne Smith, second.
Mr. Grady, may I ask, Mr. Campbell, may I ask Mr. Grady a question?
I'm listening.
Oh, sorry. So would we need to do each one of these, or since they're already in action, could we go through each and then vote? Or would we need to vote separately on each one of these?
When you're talking about each one of them, you're talking about the budget resolution, the financial reports, the budget amendments, planning budget, audit report. Yeah, let's take them as separate items.
Okay. So we are requesting approval of the budget resolution for 1920.
I made that motion. This is Mike Smith.
Okay.
Dwayne Smith, seconded.
So we need to do a roll call, Dr. Wooten.
We must have lost Mr. Campbell. Brenda Farabee,
Yes.
Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Woolard,
Yes.
Greg Lowry, Mr. Craig, I think you're still muted.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Wayne Smith,
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I was muted. I'm sorry.
Dr. Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mark Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson.
Yes.
Okay, that's unanimous. So the budget resolution is approved. Ms. Erica, the financial report?
And you will also find attached that we had the monthly financial reports for both March and April. And I can answer any questions anyone has related to those documents at this time.
Ms. Erica, this is Charles Boyd.
Yes, sir.
Has this affected FEMA, the payments from FEMA in that way at all?
The COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Actually, we have received information from Mr. Jacko that was working on the application that we submitted for alternative procedures for Matthew. And he indicated for reference in his regular days, 7 out of 8 hours is currently being spent on COVID-19. So he indicated there may be some delays because FEMA is working with most industries in the entire United States all at one time. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Kirby?
Brenda Fairley Farabee, move approval.
Is there a second?
Randy Lawson, second.
Moved and seconded. Dr. Wooten, please.
Brenda Fairby,
Yes.
Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Buller,
Yes.
Craig Lowry,
Yes.
Wayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mr. Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson.
Yes.
Thank you. The yeas have it unanimously. Thank you much. Budget amendments, Miss Erica.
And so you will have, should have 2 sheets for the state public school fund only tonight. And as we all know, the budget is a fluid and working document, and we are constantly receiving changes to it. So since I presented the budget in March, we have had revisions from the state coming in, revision 41 through 52. And I wanted to draw attention that specifically includes the PRC 154 funding that is related to COVID-19. And I can answer any questions related to the state budget amendments that we're asking for approval.
Would you summarily speak to the COVID changes, Miss Erica, please?
So the COVID-19, it was a little over $928,000 that we have received so far from the state. And this is the only group of funding that has actually been received by the district. I know you hear a lot of things from the CARES Act and other funding streams, and DPI is working to process those as fast as they can, but we have actually received this, and a portion of these funds will be used to support remote learning. There's some software purchases and the pre-K registration and the kindergarten registration that Ms. Freeman referred to earlier today. This PRC 154 COVID-19 funds will be used to support this project. But most of the funds, I would say 80% of the funds will be used to help support child nutrition, because as you're aware, we're CEP, so we get paid for every meal that we serve, but we're serving less meals during this pandemic than we would during a normal school year. So long term, it would have an effect on our child nutrition program. So a big part of that will be used to help pay for the food costs that they are incurring during this pandemic, and to support the efforts of the child nutrition program to provide those meals while we're in the closure process. The other amendments relate to ABC transfers. So the conversations we had earlier related to the staffing plan and the savings, where you'll see a lot of adjustments here, are the movement of those savings into those areas that I mentioned, which again were transportation, exceptional children, and 003, which is custodians, substitute teachers, and school office staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Randy Lawson,
Mike
second.
Smith.
It's moved and seconded that we approve the set aside, no, that we approve budget amendments. Ms. Dr. Wooten, please.
Brenda Farabee,
Yes.
Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Buller, Craig Lowry,
Yes.
Dwayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Manuel,
Yes.
Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson,
Yes.
and Charles Buller.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it's unanimous. Board members, we're on a roll here with this unanimous votes tonight.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
So let's move then to the draft audit report. Ms. Erica?
I think we have the planning budget, May 15th, 2021.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes,
Okay.
that's next.
Okay. So as you know, every year we are required to submit to the county commissioners and the county manager plans for our 2020-2021 planning budget. And so the next document addresses our state, local, capital outlay, and enterprise funds. Each year it's later and later. We just received state planning allotments about 2 weeks ago. We still have not received federal planning, so you will not find federal planning in this document. And as Ms. Alexis Schaus with DPI always mentions to us, that these are planning numbers, and pending any General Assembly legislation updates, all of these numbers could be adjusted. So this is just a summary of the plans we currently have in place. And as I've indicated on the first page, if you see a 0 on any particular line item, that doesn't mean that we're not getting those funds. It just means the planning allotment's not available at this time. Just looking at our ADM, what they base our budget on, and this is a fluid number as well. This is not using data of the current kids that are enrolled. This is a planning number that DPI uses for budget only. In comparing 1920, what they used last year for our planning, it was 21,725 children. And what they plan to use for 2021 is 21,307, which is a slight reduction, but they'll come back once we have 2 months of data in the next year. And if those numbers have gone up, they will adjust accordingly. I also wanted to draw attention to the very last page of that document, which includes the additional request to the county commissioners. I hadn't received any changes from anyone, so we included the same information we had last year. But if anything needs to change between now and Friday is the 15th, please let me know if you want to add anything there. And we, Dr. Wooten and myself, have been in contact with Ms. Blue, the county manager, and she assured us with the influx of the federal dollars and everything, and everything else we're facing, that if we need to make any changes to this document after the 15th, it is not a problem, and they are willing to work with us in any way possible, because they understand how all of these moving parts can affect our budget for the next school year. And I can answer any questions anyone has at this time.
Mr. Chairman, Randy Lawson, make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the planning budget. Dr. Wooten, please.
Brenda Farabee, Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Fuller,
Yes.
Craig Allen,
Yes.
Wayne Smith,
Yes.
Ron Campbell,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson,
Yes.
and Brenda Fair.
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me now?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Well, that's unanimous. The planning budget is approved. Miss Erica, one more
Yes,
time.
sir. Thank you, sir. And finally, we have the audit for year ending June 30th, 2019. We actually sent this document out, I believe, for the first time the end of March. And we asked at that point if there were any questions or concerns regarding this document, because as COVID-19 was evolving, we really weren't sure what we were facing, if we would be able to come back together for any other types of meetings. And so there's been about a 6-week period to review. And for any questions I can answer at this point related to the audit.
Move approval, Mr. Chairman. Mike Smith.
Dwayne
Steve
Smith,
Martin.
second.
Mr. Mike Smith and made the motion. Mr. Dwayne Smith seconded. Dr. Wood?
Brenda Farabee, Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Fuller,
Yes.
Craig Lowry,
Yes.
Wayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson,
Yes.
Brenda Fair.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know why my phone is doing this, but anyway, yes.
Thank you.
It's a new ideal, a new day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
That's unanimous. It's approved. Thank you, Miss Erica. Thank you. Mr. Martin?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Education and Public Schools of Robinson County go into closed session for the purposes of discussing certified and classified personnel, North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A, 1 and 6. Student transfers, North Carolina General Statute 115C, 402, and North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A, 1, and to consult with the attorney retained by the board in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the Board of Education of Public Schools of Robinson County, North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A, 13.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Dr. Wood?
Yes, sir.
We have to do the voice vote.
Brenda Farabee, Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Fuller,
Yes.
Craig Lowry,
Yes.
Wayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson,
Yes.
Brenda Farabee.
Yes. 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 That's all I can do because I hit *6 and it's still not happening.
Okay, then.
Thank you. Well, that is unanimous. Please remember, board members, to hang up or at least distance yourself, cut off
Hanging
your
up now.
microphone and your cameras.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, can we do a roll call so we can come back into open session?
Dr. Wooten, would you do that, please? We are.
Brenda Farabee,
Yes.
Ryan Freeman,
Yes.
Yes.
Charles Buller,
Yes. Yes.
Craig Lauer,
Yes.
Wayne Smith,
Dwayne hasn't gotten back yet.
John Campbell,
Here.
Dr. Linda Manuel,
Here.
Mr. Mike Smith,
Mike is muted.
Mike Smith. Then we have Mr. Steve Martin,
And Randy.
Mr. Martin, Mr. Lawson. There's Dwayne.
I'm here.
Just missing Randy Lawson and Steve Martin.
Well, we'll make a notation if they join,
Mm-hmm.
when they come in. I'd entertain a motion to come out of closed session.
Second.
So
Move
move,
it,
Mr. Chairman.
And Dr. Emanuel seconded. Dr. Wooten, please.
Miss Farabee,
Yes.
Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Buller,
Yes.
Craig Lowry,
Yes.
Wayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Manuel,
Yes.
Mike Smith, and we have Steve Martin and Mr. Lawson are not with us yet.
The motion is approved. At the entertain a
Dwayne
motion.
Smith, second.
Move approval of closed session minutes for March 10th, 2020, Mr. Chairman. Brenda Farabee.
Freeman
Dwayne
second.
Smith.
Brian Freeman seconded. Dr. Wooten.
Miss Brenda Farabee,
Yes.
Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Charles Buller,
Yes.
Craig Lowry,
Yes.
Dwayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Manuel,
Yes.
Mr. Mike Smith,
Think you're what, Dee?
Mike Smith,
Mr. Smith.
Feel good.
and Steve Martin and Randy Lawson. We don't have him yet.
It is approved. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve personnel as presented?
Dwayne
Freeman
Smith,
motion.
motion to approve. Make your mind up, Brian.
Second, Freeman.
It's moved and properly second. Madam Superintendent.
Brenda Farabee,
Yes.
Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Buller,
Yes.
Craig Lowry,
Yes.
Wayne Smith,
Yes.
John Campbell,
Yes.
Dr. Linda Manuel,
Yes.
Mr. Mike Smith, Mike Smith,
Mike's asleep.
and Steve Martin and Mr. Lawson have not joined us. Okay.
It is, there were enough votes to approve. It is approved. Okay, thank you. Did we approve closed session minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
We did, okay. Anything else? Anything else? I need a motion to accept the public comments.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Brenda Fairley Farrelby.
Second, Linda Emanuel.
It's moved and seconded that we accept the public comment. For the record. Dr. Wooten, would you take the roll on that, please?
Linda Fairby,
Yes.
Brian Freeman,
Yes.
Charles Buller,
Yes.
Greg Lowry,
Yes.
Dwayne Smith,
Yes.
John Samuel,
Yes.
Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mike Smith,
Yes.
Steve Martin,
Yes.
Randy Lawson.
Yes.
It is unanimously approved. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Ms. Fairby.
Brenda Fairley Farrelby. Before we adjourn, are we having debriefing within our staff in case they do need it concerning the COVID-19? Dr. Williams.
Did you repeat that?
Our social workers in particular, are we having any debriefing with them concerning the COVID-19? If they need it.
Are our social workers checking and working with our students?
No, ma'am. I know they're working with our students the best they can, but in the event that some of them needs to have debriefing, we call it debriefing on our task force. Are we having that for them?
There are
counseling, in other words.
There are options available for all of our employees that employee assistance program. So that is still available to all employees.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you. We made it. The next time will be less painful. So appreciate everyone. Appreciate superintendent, cabinet staff, all of our employees who shared in this meeting with us tonight and have done the work behind the scenes. And thank you so much. And thank you to Mr. Cole, who has held our hands and helped us maneuver as best he could help us, you know.
Amen.
But if there being nothing else that demands our attention at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Dwayne Smith.
Craig,
Freeman,
second.
Mr. Dwayne got his voice back, didn't he? I tell you.
I'm ready to eat.
One last time, Dr. Wooten, you have to call the roll.
Brenda Fairby,
Yes.
Yes.
Charles Buller,
Yes.
Greg Lowry,
Yes.
Dwayne Smith,
Absolutely, yes.
John,
Yes.
Linda Emanuel,
Yes.
Mr. Mike Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Martin,
Yes, ma'am.
and Mr. Randy Lawson.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
It stands approved. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be
Thank
safe,
you.
everybody.
Be
Good
safe,
night.
everybody. Be
Thank
safe.
you,
Good night,
everybody.
everybody.